Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on the Sitcom Showdown.
Welcome back, listeners. You're here with Steve. And Jeff, you're here too?
Yep, I'm here.
And we're excited to bring you another episode. What are we talking about today, Jeff?
Yeah, so I've chosen an episode of a sitcom I really like. I'm less confident in the episode, but I've chosen My Name Is Earl.
Okay.
So I've chosen the pilot episode. Right. So the title is just pilot. But then next episode is episode 2. So they obviously, I figure they knew the series was going ahead. Yeah, so My Name Is Earl was on the 20th Century Fox network. At least that's what the DVD says. And it ran for 4 seasons. I think somewhere around 83 episodes or something.
Right.
Between 2005 and 2008. So shall I go into a description?
Yep.
Earl Hickey is a trailer park dwelling thief with an impulsive, explosive, hot wife. Who's given him 2 out-of-control kids, neither of which is his. His dull-witted brother Randy lives with them in the trailer, and their days are filled with petty stealing to fund their nights of drinking.
I'm just laughing about the name Randy Hickey.
Randy, that's a good one. Yeah, I don't think they realised what they were doing there. But yes, that, as I've just described, isn't the actual situation of the sitcom. That's just the background up to the point at which we enter their lives. Mm-hmm. So there's a moment that changes Earl's thinking and the way he lives his life. So he goes into this convenience store and buys a pack of ciggies, and he buys his beer. It's probably 8:30 in the morning, and he buys his scratchy instant lotto ticket. And then when he scratches the ticket, he wins $100,000, and he's jumping for joy and he's whooping it up in the car park and going woohoo! And then he sort of wanders out into traffic and immediately gets ploughed down by a car. Mm-hmm. And as he's lying there on the road, barely conscious, you can see blowing away in the breeze is his winning lottery ticket. And while he's in hospital, he's sort of reflecting on his life and all this bad fortune, and then he sees something on TV about karma. And as it's expressed there, it says, if you do bad things happen to you, but if you live a good life, then good things will happen to you. Mm-hmm. And obviously that affects him. He realises he's been a bad person doing bad things, and that's why his life sucks. So if he starts doing better things, his life might get better. So Earl makes a list of everything bad he's done, and when he gets out of hospital, he begins to personally make up for every one of these dodgy deeds to the people he's screwed over, one list item at a time. Mm-hmm. And, at the end of the intro to every show, he says, I'm just trying to be a better person. My name is Earl.
Yep.
Have you watched this before?
Only one episode or something like that. It might have even been this one.
Did it just happen to be
back
on
in
at the time?
Well, I think it was the new hotness.
Yeah.
Well, back in 2004, I guess.
Right.
And yeah, I never got past the first or second episode.
Aha. Oh, so you didn't like it. This isn't going to go well, especially after last week's debacle. Okay, well, I'll take you through the cast members. Jason Lee is Earl.
Well, he was well known before he came to this, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he arguably didn't star in anything, but he'd been in 7 Kevin Smith movies. Mm-hmm. And then after this, he starred in the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. There's been 4 of them.
What?
I know, over the years. I think one just came out last year or the year before. But he was a professional skateboarder in the late 80s and early 90s. Ethan Suplee, I don't know how you pronounce it, Suplee? He's Earl's brother Randy. And like Jason Lee, he was mainly in films, just in supporting roles and bit parts, before he came to being a main player in television in My Name Is Earl. Some of the movies, he was in American History X, he was in The Butterfly Effect, he was in Blow with Johnny Depp, but he has done other TV. Mm-hmm. He was in a sitcom called Jennifer Falls and a show called Chance that only just got cancelled about a week ago,
right? Starring
Hugh Laurie.
Huh. Well, he's been around a bit.
He has been around a bit, but he hadn't done much before My Name Is Earl in terms of profile. Jamie Presley, who plays Joy, which is Earl's ex-wife, and she left Earl while he was in hospital. She won an Emmy and a Golden Globe for her role as Joy in this, which was surprising. Prior to acting, she was a gymnast and a model, and she was in a bunch of music videos as well. But she's the lead character in that show I mentioned earlier, Jennifer Falls, which started in 2013 and only went for a year. And then when that finished, she starred in a new sitcom called Mom, which has been on for 3 years now.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
So she's gone on to sitcom success. Nadine Velasquez plays Catalina, who works as a maid at the motel where Randy and Earl live.
Right.
And she quickly becomes friends with the brothers, and she can sort of give them this outside perspective. She can give advice as a woman or as someone from outside the culture. So she's not from that town. She's actually an illegal immigrant working there at the motel. And also, because she didn't know Earl and Randy before Earl had his change, it's someone soundboarding against him that won't judge him for who he was before, like every single other person in the show who he's really ticked off. Yeah, but she wasn't in anything of note before this show, but she was obviously a rising star because she got a job in the show Prison Break.
Yes.
And that was pretty much cast, from what I understand. And then she got this role, and she chose this instead of Prison Break.
What was the right decision there?
Yeah. How long did Prison Break go for? I reckon that would have went for 3 or 4 seasons.
3 or 4 seasons, yeah.
And lastly, because this has got a truly massive regular cast. I mean, it is huge. But the last of the regular 5 is Eddie Steeples, and he plays Darnell, who's also known as Crabman. He's Joy's latest husband, who replaced Earl. And Crabman, Darnell, is also Earl Jr.'s real father, because Earl Jr. is black.
Right.
And Earl, so he got married to Joy, and he didn't know when he got married to her at the time that she was pregnant with someone else's child. And he had that, and he goes, okay, that's fine, that's cool. And then a couple of years later, they had another child, and he was thinking, yes, I'm finally going to be a father. And he got a bit of bad news on the delivery day. So Eddie Steeples was mainly famous for starring in a big ad campaign as the rubber band man for a place called Office Max. What? So apparently this whole ad or series of ads with this character must have been huge, because apparently he was well loved as this character from this ad. And he hasn't done much else. There's a few mediocre movies here and there, and it's surprising because he's really cool. So that's our regular cast.
Let's go and watch it.
Okay.
If I want a better life, I need to be a better person.
What's this?
I made a list of everything bad I've ever done.
Why?
Why? Randy, I just won $100,000 in the lottery and was immediately hit by a car. I almost died because something good happened to me that I didn't deserve. That karma stuff is going to kill me unless I make up for everything on that list.
Number 23. Peed in the back of a cop car.
I'm no longer proud of that.
Number 41. Snatched a kid's Halloween candy when he came to my trailer to trick or treat.
That was wrong, and I know that now.
Number 102. Harmed and possibly killed innocent people with secondhand smoke. Now, how in the world are you gonna fix these things, Earl?
I don't know, start with the easy ones. Like, number 64.
Picked on Kenny James.
I used to torment the hell out of that poor boy back in elementary school.
So what do you think you're gonna do about it now?
I don't know, find him, do something nice for him, and then cross him off the list.
Excuse me, but if my boss comes back and sees that there's no garbage in the parking lot, he's gonna get used to it like that. So could you please put it back?
No, I can't. Number 136, I've been a litter bug.
So we've just watched the pilot of My Name Is Earl.
Yep.
We've got 3 pages of notes here.
Okay.
So I better launch into it. So the episode opens on a convenience store, and this shady dude's walking into it, and there's a voiceover. And that explains things a little bit. So this family is pulled up to go into the store, but they wait for the dodgy dude to come out before they go in. And as soon as they do go in, this dodgy guy gets into their car and steals a bunch of their stuff and runs off. And that's Earl. Over the next 2 minutes, in sitcom time, we get a condensed history with a voiceover from Earl introducing his brother Randy and his wife Joy, the crab shack where they all like to hang out, and their friend Darnell, who works there and gives them free food, which the bits of crab he's not legally allowed to sell. And with that set up, Earl tells us, and the show shows us, that Earl scratched a winning $100,000 lottery ticket, as I described before, and gets hit by a car 10 seconds later. No ticket. That's just gone flying off into the distance. So we cut to the hospital where Earl's in bed with a neck brace and he's all doped up on morphine. And Joy visits him and just gets him to sign some papers. And then Earl does this and we see Darnell walk in following Joy with a box of stuff. And Joy explains that, look, Earl, that's your stuff. I'm delivering this to you because Darnell's moving in with me and we're going to get married. And Earl sort of says, look, we're already married. You're married to me. You can't marry him. And Joy holds up the papers Earl just signed and says, not anymore, we're not. Which is a bit cruel. So poor old Earl. Yes. He's got no home, no wife, no $100,000 lottery ticket. And, Randy's sleeping on the couch near his hospital bed and he's got to look after Randy and everything.
Yeah, and the kids that he's adopted for all intents and purposes of...
Neither of which are his. Yeah, that's right. And later that night, he's watching TV in his doped-up state, and he sees Carson Daly on the TV talking about karma. And so Earl thinks that could be the secret of life. And we move on to Earl out of hospital, and having moved into a motel with Randy, and Earl tells Randy and Catalina, the maid, that he's made this list. And he explains karma to them, and he says, I've got my list here with all the stuff that I've done wrong with my life that's bad. And he's going to set out and fix all of these things starting now. And he walks out down the stairs to start picking up litter in the car park. And so Randy and Catalina follow him, questioning him about this. And he said, look, it's list item number 136. I've been a litter bug, so now I'm going to start picking up litter and all that sort of thing. And Randy starts berating him, saying, look, we've got bigger problems. We've got no food. We're broke. We've spent our last $45 on this motel room. What are we going to do, But Earl keeps picking up all the garbage. And he tells Randy, look, too bad. I've got to do everything on my list before I can move on with life, or karma's going to strike me down and I'm going to die. And miraculously, he picks up the winning lotto ticket that had blown away in the parking lot 3 weeks earlier. And I think that's a bit of a sign, is that he's now got his $100,000 back the moment he starts picking up the litter, and he's made this resolution to sort out his life.
He takes it as confirmation of this theory that he's developed.
Yeah, exactly. So we move along, and the brothers have cashed in the ticket, and they pay for the motel for a while up front, and they immediately start with Earl's first list item, which is number 64, because he just chooses them at random. They're not going to be tackled in numerical order.
No.
And they want to Earl wants to make it up to Kenny James, who's this kid that he bullied relentlessly all through elementary school. So Earl, Randy and Catalina go around to Kenny's house to stake him out, and they stake him out over the next few days. Kenny's, this nice, neat, tidy, timid guy, and he's got a decent job and a nice little house and a nice little car, but Earl sort of sees that he's all alone and sad. And so Earl's plan, because he's not very good at this helping people out business left. He's still, he's still the same old dodgy dude. He hasn't got the nuances of it down. So he figures, right, Kenny's lonely, I'm going to go get him a woman. And his plan is to hire Patty, the daytime hooker, to go around and visit him under the pretense of being from Greenpeace and seduce Kenny. But that doesn't work, obviously. Kenny turns her down. So Earl decides, right, bugger this, I'm just going to visit Kenny and talk to him. But when Kenny answers the door, he recognises Earl, and obviously he's very frightened, and he runs off back inside the house and tries to slam the door, but Earl puts his foot in the door and follows Kenny. Kenny thinks he's about to be brutalised in some way.
He says, I've got a restraining order against you. And Earl says, yes, but it was written on a lunch bag by...
the school nurse 20 years ago, and I made you eat it. That doesn't go well. So Earl's trying to talk him down a bit and chill him out to say, look, dude, I think you're lonely. I'm going to help you by getting you a woman. And he goes, I don't need your help. And he goes, dude, you turned down free sex off a daytime prostitute. You need my help, which isn't very sensitive of Earl at all. And meanwhile, Randy, who's still got criminalistic tendencies, obviously has been going through Kenny's drawers, and he sort of finds some man-on-man magazines and says, Earl, I think we're barking up the wrong tree here. And then Earl and Randy realise Kenny's gay, and because they're not the most sophisticated of chaps and they've never met a gay person before, they slowly back out of the room. And then they run off down the street back to their car. So they run away from Kenny, and poor old Kenny, so he's mortified and he's trying to figure out what's happening. So back at the motel car park, they pull up, and as they're walking towards the motel room, getting out of the car, Earl says, right, that's it. I can't help Kenny. He's gay. There's special circumstances. I don't have to deal with this. I'm just going to move on to another thing on my list. I'm not helping him, but Catalina says, hey man, that's not right. It's on your list. Karma's going to get you if you don't sort this out. And he goes, no, it's my list. It's my rules. I'm just going to move on to the next job I select. And then they walk into the motel room, which has been completely trashed. And they walk in, and Joy steps out and clonks Earl over the head with a telephone. So anyway, she's found out that he won $100,000, and she wants to get half the money and won't stop until she gets it.
I don't think she mentions half. Does she just say she wants the whole lot?
No, she does say, I want half that money. I'm going to get it. Don't know why she thinks she's entitled to half the money, because she divorced him in the hospital before he even won the money.
She's a shocker.
She is a shocker. This is taken as a sign by Earl. He's having a think, and he realises it's karma, because as the second he gave up helping Kenny and decided not to help him, his room gets trashed and he gets hit over the head with a phone. So he thinks that's a sign that, he's saying, yeah, okay, it's my list, but it's not my rules. Karma makes the rules. And so he goes back to help Kenny. And we see Kenny getting home from work at night and goes into the house, turns on the light, and he finds Earl just standing there in his living room, because Earl can break into anywhere. And Kenny freaks out again and tries to spray Earl with mace, he's not used to handling it, the can's pointing the wrong way, sprays himself in the face with mace, turns and walks straight into the wall. So we cut to a short while later, and Earl's totally fixed Kenny's eyes up, and he's sort of talking him down a bit.
Yeah.
So there's this beautifully awkward conversation where Earl forces himself to ask Kenny why he doesn't have a man, and obviously he's squirming a bit talking about this because it's not Earl's area. But Kenny says, look, nobody knows I'm gay. This is a really tough town, and I've always been scared to come out. And so Earl's sort of responding by telling Kenny he's sort of, coming out about his list and his own shame, and he's trying to get Kenny to believe he's genuine about trying to help him out and make good on this whole situation. So they reach a bit of an understanding, and Earl convinces Kenny to go into the city with him, which is an hour and a half away, and go to a gay bar, which Kenny has tried before, but he just sat outside in his car too scared to go in. Anyhow, Earl sort of says, look, you obviously don't want to go there alone. I'll go there with you. Earl's not very happy about having to go with him, but he goes with him anyway. So him and Randy go to the gay bar in town with Kenny, and Kenny's having a pretty good time. He's very relaxed, but he's not talking to any guys. And so Earl says he'll introduce Kenny to some of these guys, just walk up and say hi. But Kenny realises this is something he has to do on his own. But Earl's not happy about this. He says, no, I have to do it for you. I have to help you, or I can't cross you off my list. But Kenny says Earl has already helped him, and I might cut to a clip here.
Maybe I should do this myself.
Kenny, I can't let you do that. I gotta be the one to help you if I want to cross you off my list.
Wait. You have helped me. Look, my whole life, I've been scared to be who I really am because of what people might think. But then Earl Hickey brought me to a gay bar. Earl Hickey went to Express for Men and bought me a shirt. Earl Hickey, the one man I was the most scared of in my whole life, has accepted me as I am. Look, when we were kids, you took away my confidence, but today you gave it back. Thanks, Earl. You can cross me off your list.
So Kenny's now talking to this cute guy, and Earl is looking on, and we hear his voiceover, because there's a hell of a lot of this show is in voiceover with Earl explaining stuff, which they have to do a lot in the pilot. And we hear Earl's take on what he's learned, and then Randy's favourite song comes on, the DJ starts playing it, and so then Randy starts grooving with this random dude, and the pilot episode ends, and Earl has his first list item done.
Yeah, one down.
200 and something to go. Yes. Have you got any thoughts before I launch into anything?
Well, the premise is an interesting one, isn't it?
I think so. That's one of the main points I'm going to use to sell it here.
Yep. I'm trying to convince Jeff to watch The Good Place. Listeners, if you agree with me, send us a message or leave a Facebook comment. Yes, if the premise of this show appeals to you, then that would be a good one to watch as well.
So what strikes me about... well, it was very difficult because I wanted to bring My Name Is Earl to the table, but it's structured in such a way that you can't drop yourself in halfway. So I'm pretty much forced to begin with the pilot. And because the pilot is all set up, there's no real mega jokes in there or funny situations because they've got to establish everything that's going on. And then what's led up to this thing in his life at this point is all pretty mirthless, serious stuff. And then he finds himself in this situation. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm trying to partly lay a foundation to set things up for bringing in more episodes of My Name Is Earl in the future. Because, like, I suspect that the pilot won't make it, but this is one of those sitcoms that can fall between the cracks of what we do in our format, right? So we've discussed The Detectorists before, in that no episode has got this mind-blowingly clever plot. No episode has got these amazing, hilarious gags. But it's a brilliant sitcom. It's difficult to put your finger on why, and I think it's because it's very character-based. So this is what's happening here in My Name Is Earl, but not to the same degree as Detectorists. There's more traditional sitcomery in My Name Is Earl, and in some episodes, a lot of episodes, there's plenty of hilarious moments, but you won't react to them unless you know the back history.
Yeah, got it.
Most sitcoms rely on characters not changing, and Seinfeld's a good example of that, is because they just go on being themselves in New York. And, you know, by the end of the show, none of them have really changed as people, and then they get chucked in jail for being, you know, not very nice people. All that aside, most sitcoms rely on people not changing, so you can have the reset at the beginning of the episode and then do...
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Whereas
the majority of sitcoms.
Oh, the majority, yeah. So this is the absolute opposite, in that the whole point of this is so that Earl can change and hopefully take some people along on the ride with him. But yeah, so it's the premise of this show.
Well, Randy could stand some work as well, couldn't he?
No, mate. Randy, he's like Alice Tinker. So he's Earl's Alice from Vicar of Dibley. Mm-hmm. So Earl is like the Vicar of Dibley in that he arrives back from hospital after his life-changing experience in this village of crazy people at the trailer park in the Crab Shack, except he was one of them, but now he's coming in with this new perspective and he's trying to do this list with all these other things holding him back in the way that the Vicar of Dibley is trying to do her thing with all the crazy people in the village. That just came to me then, but yeah, so it's the premise of this show that makes it really important to me, making yourself a better person and taking responsibility for everything in your life and being a good example. But it does it without being preachy, intolerant, holier-than-thou zealotry and all that sort of stuff. So Earl learns that lesson. We see him clumsily try to help Kenny in this episode. But as Earl goes on and helps more people with his list and has to confront what he's done, he becomes very good at listening to the recriminations and learning all these different approaches, and everyone's different, and just taking things on board and observing. I'm not doing this in a very long-winded way, but it's amazing his progression over the series. You know, it's a light-hearted show of lessons, but it balances all this lowest common denominator humour. Obviously not in this episode, but in some of the other ones. And
just to follow up on something you were saying there, one of the things I found funny about this was you've got this guy who's got nothing together in his life, trying to help someone who's only got one, like Kenny's got
one area,
a proper house, which is neat and tidy. He's got a solid job. He's, you know, a productive member of the community. It's just his relationship side of things that's not there.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Earl, who's got nothing together, is trying to help someone who's 10 steps ahead of him with finding a relationship. And
his is pretty awful.
Well, his first stab at helping him in his loneliness is to hire this prostitute for him.
It's so ham-fisted.
It's so misguided.
Yeah, but that's all he knows. And that's the thing is he hadn't talked to Kenny. He hadn't listened to Kenny. He didn't really... You know, he took a wild swing at what the problem might be. And it didn't go very well, did it?
So that's how the people around Earl satisfy their craving for relationship, is to...
Take a wild swing?
To hire this...
Visit Patty?
Horrible, yeah.
Well, exactly. So he's setting out on this journey where he's trying to do his best with what he has and with all the people around him as well. Yeah. And the people on Earl's list, you know, they're upset. But he works very hard and they end up forgiving him, and sometimes they don't, and there's a lesson to be learnt there as well. Mm-hmm. And so, I just want to bring this series to the table, and even if this gets shot down, I know that I can now bring on other episodes. But it's sad because I don't have any highlight gags to list.
Well, the funniest one I heard was they're in the crab shack and someone throws an empty can of beer at Earl, and Earl's comeback is, "I know where your mama parks the house."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Like I said, I found the situation amusing, but I didn't find a lot of laughs in there, and it's a bit bittersweet as well.
Oh, there's a lot of that in this show. So, there we go. My name is Earl.
I'm on his side.
Have you got anything else to add before
I've run out of notes.
So let's put the pitch out there. Does this episode of My Name is Earl make it into the Hall of Fame?
I can't do it, Jeff. I mean, if this is a pilot episode, which is supposed to hook people into watching the show, I mean, I remember watching it now, having rewatched it, but I didn't continue on past this one.
No.
So it didn't really serve its purpose. And I can understand what you're saying about this is the building blocks for where it goes in the future, but yeah, it didn't grab me as I think it should have done. Didn't find as many laughs in there as I would have hoped. And I wouldn't say there were any dud jokes in this one we watched.
There just weren't enough of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. That's 2 episodes in a row where stuff hasn't made it in. But I think we've laid some good groundwork there. And you've got to bring up shows that are important to you. Okay, I'll rephrase that. It's important that we bring shows to the table that we think are very, very good. It's just sometimes difficult to do.
Yeah, and have all your hopes and dreams dashed.
Ah, that's right.
Bye, brother.
Well, these things happen.
Yeah.
If we've alerted some people to My Name Is Earl and Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, and they go and check them out and then get them on the journey of enjoying those shows, then the job is done.
I agree.
All right, so we'll be back for more in March.
Yes, I look forward to it.
All right, no worries.
See you, everyone.
All right, bye. Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.